serenading us and setting the tone for the next conversation with Juliane Hoss, who is a systematic therapist and a coach with a master's degree in psychology from the University of Constance in Germany and a master's in human resource management from the London School of Economics. Juliane works with individuals and couples through both virtual and in-person therapy. And this is well known. She's actually well known for her therapeutic nature-based couple retreats. And that is what we are talking about this evening: healing, bonding, reconnecting, rejuvenating, resuscitating, whatever it is you need and that nature can offer. Juliane Hoss is going to teach us how we can meet these worlds through our relationships, romantic relationships, and of course an exploration of nature. Juliane, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Juliane, we have had you a number of times. Yes, we have talked about a number of relationship contexts. We've talked about a number of emotional states, even, if you will. We've even talked about introverts and extroverts. But we haven't gotten into the thicket of your offering, which is this couples retreat offering that you bring forth. And I want to start off by gauging why it is you chose to go that way. Why couples retreats? Why nature? Why combine the two?
Yeah, good question actually. I've always loved working with couples because I think I've always just been so intrigued by how heavy it can get in a relationship, how much pain we go through or we endure, really in the name of love. It was something that has always fascinated me. And I once read a book that captured it quite nicely. It said that romance and loving relationship or love relationships, they really take us, but love also has the potential of carrying us through. So I've been fascinated by that, and I've been fascinated by nature, and bringing the two together for me was really an attempt to say, can we somehow find a way to connect with the world around us, with ourselves, and through that be more present with our partners again? And I tried it, and because it was so incredibly powerful, we kept on going, and we still do the retreats for couples in nature.
Juliane, nature is usually this place of solitude, right? People go into nature to reconnect with self. How do we make this a twofold experience? How do I move and shift my mindset from Sheila must find Sheila to Sheila must find Sheila and person X?
It's really through understanding that who we are is at the core always a dynamic of interacting with ourselves, with others, and with the world around us. You can think of a relationship to self, a relationship to your partner, and a relationship to the world around us. So healing isn't possible alone. One of my favorite authors always says that healing happens in community. That was Bell Hooks. And that's also kind of like a vision that we have with our retreats, that it's not just you coming together and focusing on the relationship, but through the retreat and through your relationship, you really focus on your own healing as well, because your relationship starts forming a platform for that. Just to give you some examples, for example, like a lot of times when we somehow upset or we very anxious and we don't like who we are as individuals, this is something that we can discuss and work through as a couple. And then we see change also in how we see ourselves, not just how we relate to our loved ones.
Julian, what is it about nature that makes it very therapeutic and healing? I've always had the theory that there's more oxygen out there. Yeah? We can breathe better out there, but there has to be more to it than the oxygen.
So it's definitely, it has a calming effect on our nervous system. And there's a beautiful book which is called Love Amongst Equals. And that book also unpacks how we need to be able to center and soothe ourselves so that we can be really fully present and really understand and empathize with our partners and not just place our expectations on them. So that's the one part. It really calms our nervous system. That's what nature does. The second part is it also removes distractions, because we live a very busy life and we are often distracted from what matters most to us. And I always like to ask this question: if a child would watch how Shayla lives her week, and they wouldn't have any access to you telling them what you want to do or what's important to you, they would just watch you. And at the end of the week or month, we would ask them, what does Shayla really care about? And they would most probably, for all of us, not just you, say, well, actually, about work and the phone and about being busy. And it really reveals how distracted we are from relationships, but also from ourselves. And that's when nature also helps to really center yourself again and also focus you on what really, really matters. And there is a fascinating research on being in awe and really being mesmerized by the beauty around it. Interestingly, we are mostly in awe when we see other people extending gestures of kindness, or when we are in nature and we see a lot of beauty out there. So it also puts us in like a mesmerized state of really marveling at the world. And through that, we can also reconnect with those emotions that also help us to marvel at our partner. There is actually a mindfulness based activity that I also do, where I let the partner sit opposite, and then I cover the eyes of one partner and I let the other person look at them the way they looked at them when they just fell in love, when they had all of those beautiful emotions and hormones, and for the other partner to really take it in that someone is looking at you from that place of admiration and love. Tap into that energy. It's a beautiful activity.
Juliane, let's see if we can get me into a relationship in the next 2 weeks so that I can experience that. It sounds so beautiful. It sounds so beautiful to be centered again, and not just you centering self, but
Yeah.
someone to make you their prime focus. I think that
Yeah.
is something very powerful. For some, nature is not as calming, Juliane. For some, nature is scary because it's the creepy crawlies, it's the things that you cannot control around you happening without your permission that almost leaves you in this state of tense. I want to say tense fear. Sometimes it's not fear, it's just anxiety. For those who are saying that I haven't necessarily bonded with nature the way I should, what are some of the principles and the foundations that you would need to overturn so that they're able to connect and be in that state of calm?
Yeah, I mean, it's foundations that you also have to overturn for healing. It's precisely to transform control into a sense of inner strength to say, I can face whatever comes my way. Because control is more, I need to control it. I need to shape my environment. I need to manipulate it just for me to be calm and safe. So I need to have everything in order and everything in structure and everything in a schedule. And that is, it's more also sometimes it causes more upheaval inside us, even a neurotic state that we think we need to control everything. And giving that up allows us to really go out there and say, whatever comes my way, I will be able to work through it. I will be strong enough to find my way forward. And that is something that nature can actually teach us. And when you're anxious, it's not necessarily a bad sign, because anxiety is not a character flaw. It's often a sign of what we need to work through, what our next step of growth could be. And for a lot of those clients, it would then be releasing control and replacing it with self trust, trusting yourself in the process.
The voice of Juliane Hoss, who is a systematic therapist and coach, joining us this evening. And we are focusing on nature based couples retreats and how these can prove to be very fruitful for you and yours. Send through your questions. Find us on WhatsApp +27 83 288 6684. Juliane, when is the right time to go on these retreats? Is it when you're in crisis, when you've just met? What is the context in which Mr. and I decide, listen, we're going to go on a couples retreat and we're going to go into nature and we're going to bond and grow?
As early as possible. And there's nothing that affects us couple counselors more than the realization that most couples come when it's already or close to too late. I love the retreats as more of a form of pre-marriage counseling or pre-deepening your relationship experience, because when you're in that state of really still seeing the absolute good and great in your partner, we are most open and attuned to understanding and empathizing with them. And that's what we need to build a strong platform. So I give you an example. A huge part of the work we do is, of course, around communication. And we're trying to unpack what does it mean when we get into our panic zone in communications, and why is that so destructive, and why does it lead to escalation, and to understand that your partner is not against you. They are just spiraling because maybe they are scared to be criticized, maybe they are scared to lose you. It takes them to those old painful childhood experiences, and understanding that can help you to see, okay, you are hurting at the moment. You're not primarily fighting, you are just hurting, and helping your partner out of that. And that is really important to understand. And the earlier in your relationship, the better. I would also recommend a retreat when you're going through a conflict, because it really gives you time to reconnect. It really gives you time to calm down. And through that opens a platform for solving your conflicts as well. So it can be done if you're in conflict, it can be done in a difficult time, but the best is really to use what you have available to build strong resources. Because also face it, love relationships as the core of how we structure our lives in society is relatively recent. We had this massive ambition that we want to marry and live together with the people we love the most. And now we have to fill that with life. We are amongst the first generations who are following or pursuing that dream, but we still need to learn how to actually make it happen. Somehow, marriages were way more stable when they were primarily economic agreements.
There we go, Juliane, right there with the bun, with the burn of it all. I love it when you get to that stage. Juliane, I want to talk about the experience in nature. Um, I'm thinking to myself, and I say this because I often do go out and about into the wilderness. I'm trying to picture a context of what does it look like? What does intentional presence look like at your retreats? What is it that we're doing? You know, I've seen some of your pictures where you are seated on the ground and it looks like people are huddled up into groups. Walk us through the process.
Yeah, it really starts with consciously watching the sunrise, really being present as the sun rises, not talking, but just zoning in, grounding yourself, sitting on the ground again, being connected to nature, feeling that calming force. And then we do a lot of breath works and guided meditations. My favorite is where you actually imagine that you're going back to the moment when you felt most connected and deeply in love with your partner, and you're trying to get into that sensation, back into that feeling, so that you can carry that into your life moving forward. So this is what we do. We also then take like calm walks in nature. And I love this idea of also every time you take a walk, every time you just get yourself out there, find something new that you haven't seen, that you're curious about. That also really teaches you mindfulness, and then you can apply that in your relationship. Every time you spend time with your partner, explore something new, learn something about them that you weren't aware of yet, because that is one of the foundations that researchers such as Dr. Sue Johnson have also identified makes a lifelong relationship worthwhile, is that you keep on learning and understanding new things about your partner. So that's how we then use nature to really reflect on and grow our relationships in line with that. I also love just generally looking at the sky, like stargazing, or I love putting my clients into a meditation, let them really soothe into it, and waking them up when the stars are out. We then wait until we see the first stars up, and then we go back to our main house, the farm. So we really try to integrate also the flow of the day and what nature is presenting to us in the experience.
Juliane, this sounds very breathtaking, right? It almost makes you feel like you're in this serene state of beauty, of awe. How do we follow up in terms of practice once said person X and Shayla leave the retreat, right? So we've gone, we've connected, we've healed. I feel loved, they feel loved. But now we get back into the city and it's the hustle and the
Yeah.
bustle and the noise. How do we follow
It's
up?
really hard. Like everyday life really puts us and our relationships to test. Like you can say that out loud. And a lot of people feel that they're actually running a logistics company or a daycare with the person that they were once passionately in love with. And it can really feel defeating. And I believe it's about setting conscious time just for the relationship, time where you and your partner meet and you reflect on the experience. So I give guiding questions that I encourage the couples to use at least every second week to talk through where are we at. Always start with something positive. What went well since we had the last conversation? What is really positive? And let's see if we can try to strengthen that. Often, when we want to change something, we look at the gap or we look at what's not going well, and then we try to kind of eradicate or change it. But there's so much we can learn from the things that are going well because we can realize it, see what is really good for us as a couple, and how do we strengthen it. Then in the chat, you can also address any challenges, any changes you want to commit to, but we learn how to do that in a non-violent way. And violence in communication doesn't always mean I come and slap you, but it means I talk in a way that really makes it hard for you to have your needs met. So we change that. So we learn non-violent communication. We learn to really express where we stand and what we need in a respectful and really understanding manner. And then I always encourage the couples share also in those conversations what else is going on in your life. We always think if someone loves us, they need to be able to read our minds. That's not true. You need to tell your partner what is going on, what is heavy on your heart, what might be challenging for you, and through that for the relationship until you have the other chat. And end on a high note again. Give each other a compliment. Tell what you love. Tell each other what you love about each other. So always start with something positive and end with something positive. And these chats can really keep the momentum going.
The voice there of systematic therapist and coach, that is Juliane Hoss, joining us this evening. We're addressing the idea of us attending a therapeutic nature-based couples retreat and the benefits thereof. If you have questions, find us on +27 83288 6684. When we get back, Juliana, I want us to address the context of parents. So couples that have children and that have responsibilities that extend outside work and work relationships. You know, the little ones that also require your attention, your affection. I want us to address that as a tail end.
Africa's heart beats one story at a time on African Diaries with Sheila.
18 before midnight in Central Africa time. We're still in conversation with Juliane Hoss, a systematic therapist and a coach, joining us, and we're looking at the plausibility of therapeutic nature-based couple retreats. Juliane Hoss, I ended off with a note there saying that there was a question that came in, or rather a statement even, by Adikax X, who said that it's really hard to try and be present with your partner when there are children involved. How do we navigate that terrain altogether?
It's really hard. I just want to say as a disclaimer, most couples that I work with that are really, really presenting problems of not being able to really focus or invest in the relationship because of the kids. As we do the work in therapy or at the retreats, they unpacked it. They realized that, okay, actually, we didn't have the strongest of foundations even before. So oftentimes it also leads us to that realization that the children then became a catalyst of what was already challenging and not necessarily the reason. So I just want us to be mindful of that. But yeah, it is incredibly challenging because children are a 24/7 commitment and they want all of your energy. And it is really hard to then take a step back, especially in a time where a lot of people parent from a place of guilt and really think they need to self-sacrifice to raise those little humans. And I love the work by Gottman, and Gottman is a couple, like a psychological research couple focusing on relationship. And they always say, the relationship is still incredibly important because children learn from you how to love a partner, how to dedicate time and attention to your partner, how to somehow always find a way to connect no matter how busy life is. So I think the first step is to say, can we free up some time where the kids are somehow safe or busy to tune to each other, because this is also how we role model love. Second step is to say, can we parent from a place of really enjoying our family and not from a place of feeling completely exhausted and defeated by self-sacrificing? And then I think really also being honest and learning to ask for help again. Can we somehow find a way to have support so that there is some carved out time that you have just with your partner again? But all that being said and done, it remains hard, because I always explain to my clients, when you have kids, especially small kids, and that is still one of the risky times where a lot of couples get divorced, it is too much for one individual to handle. It's too much for two individuals to handle. And that's why we sometimes even do an exercise where I just ask them to say, you know what, since we met last time or in the last month, write down, what have you seen your partner trying? What have you seen them succeeding at? What have they kept going, even though everything was so incredibly demanding? Like, tune into affirmation again and build from there. And that's also how I structure my retreats. We always start with the positive. Tell your partner what you really love. Give each other compliments. I also like to have them write a short dating profile for their partner where they can really express their admiration and love, and then discuss what is going well, what are we good at, what are we trying for each other, because we are wired as people to always look at the gap, look at what's not going well or what we would want to change. So we have to make conscious effort every day to look at the positives, to be grateful, to see what our partner is trying. And that can also change our perspective from someone who's dropping the ball or neglecting us to someone who's truly trying their best and our team player that we can rely on. That change is very, very, very important to make it through those testing years of having small children together.
Juliane, I would love for us to get into a part 2 where we address foundations, because you just said something and it literally pivoted through my being and I was gobsmacked for a few. And this was that usually couples that have a shaky time are the ones who haven't set strong foundations. And so I do hope that in our next conversation we can pick up from that. But for now, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you. It's been a huge pleasure, and I hope to welcome you with your future partner at the retreat.
Absolutely. Next week, Tuesday, Juliane. Next week, Tuesday.
Yes, can't wait.
The voice there.
You can follow the link to sign up online.
I will do that this Saturday, because you know what? We are hopeful. That's how we're going to target this.
Yeah.
This Saturday is when we do it. And then next week, Tuesday, when he finally says, Sheila, can you be my person? Then I'll call you. I'm in it to win it. The voice there of systematic therapist and coach, that is Juliane Hoss, joining us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for thinking of me.
Absolutely. 47 after 11 p.m. Central Africa time. Some music coming your way.